Hello. Thank you guys for coming and welcome to the Hive. Of course, thank you very much for my three guest speakers. Khun Tony from JL, Khun Ek from Knight Frank, and Khun, sorry, Sarut from CBRE. I'm sorry, I'm very bad with names today. Has been a long day. Thank you very much. I would always wanted to make this event happen because I really would like to share all the knowledge that you guys have with your experience and as your company that you can contribute to people that are really interested in the commercial real estate, especially on what happened from before pandemic, during the panic, and how we'll look in the future. Can we have the next slide, please? Thank you very much. I'll give you a little quick introduction about the Hive itself. So let me talk about us a little bit. Next slide. Thank you. We are actually Hong Kong found company. So for people who don't know, we're Hong Kong based. We were established there 12 years ago and are operating until now. For the Tonglau location here, we are operation 7 years, and our Prakanong location is 4 years. So we are basically also very established here in Bangkok already. And as our overall footprint, we have 20 locations across the region and 7 different countries. Now the 20 is a very ever-changing number because we actually do have one more coming up in Hong Kong, one more coming up in Singapore, and one more coming up in Australia. So by the end of this year, we're looking at 23 locations. However, the footprint for it right now is, of course, very dominant in Hong Kong with 9 locations. But you see, we have 2 in Thailand. And of course, we are looking to expand. So we will look also for, of course, for your help, for any leads or any possibilities that we can have there to grow our business. We are very thankful. But we are not here to sell our business today. So can we please move on? That's something I really want to give to you on your way really quick. What is the differentiation of us? Why are we different than other co-working providers? It's basically that a lot of co-working operators use community as a gimmick. But for us, it's really our DNA. We are really member-driven and member-centric. We try to engage, we try to make events, we try to involve our members. And I think that's something we are proud of. So we do really have flexible approaches across all our doings. If it's a agreement, a lease agreement, a service agreement, we can always try to find a solution that's a win-win scenario for both. We are not really, confined by certain company bureaucracies. We definitely still have the ability to individually go on to a member and make something custom tailored to that. So it's, of course, reflected on our community as well. If you look at our Tonglau community, you will see more international crowd, more expats. While if you go to a Prakanong location, you will see mostly Thais. Maybe not as in the owners, but at least in the workforce. So every location of us has a different community. The spaces itself are also very different because if you look at the space here that we have in Tonglau, it's a standalone building. While in Prakanong, it's a serviced office, 1 floor, the 5th floor basically, and that's it. So a different identity there as well. And lastly, of course, it brings different cultures together. But that's it for the Hive, for now at least. And I would like to introduce our very first guest speaker from JLL, of course. Can we have the next slide? Khun Tony, please come up and talk a bit about JLL. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Khun Thananun. Yeah, so I think first of all, thank you for the Hive to have me here, sharing experience with you all. My topics that I'm talking is about office building. Office markets in a whole, right? And then we talk a little bit about what we see changes in the office market. And then Khun Ek, we talk about technologies, and Khun Ruth will talk about flex space and traditional space in comparison, right? So I think we see many familiar faces from agencies, right? And I think the rest maybe the tenants in here. Anyone from the landlord side? No? Yeah, okay, which is good because the things that I will talk will not be very pleasant for the landlord because I think we are in very exciting moments of the decades because the building, the market has been changed from the landlord's market during the last decades, maybe 2011, 2012, around that time. And now it has been changed a lot. The landscape has been changed as well. So next slide, please. Yeah, like in all other markets, when we talk about the market condition, what determines the market is about the demand and supply, right? And it's the situation that both the demand and supply compressing the market quite a lot. And many things changes in just very few years. In terms of the supply, I will use the word enormous amount of new supply during this time till 2026 and maybe like later as well. In terms of the demand, then for sure that COVID-19 make many things change. The way we work from in office to be from home, from anywhere. Some of us doing like the hybrid work as well. And also CREs, the corporate real estate are talking about like right sizing because now they don't use the office the way that they used to be. So they have to do something to make sure that they have like the good efficiency for the space. And then the criteria of the MNCs as well as the local or smaller firms as well that are more complex in terms of IT infrastructure that they have to prepare and make ready for the work from anywhere else, not the office. Or we are talking about race to net zero, sustainability, and the wellness as well. Yeah, next slide, please. So how big is enormous that we are talking about, right? Next slide. These two are the numbers of A-grade buildings that are coming into the market in the next few years. So 1.6 million market-wide, I mean in like overall Bangkok. Then another 1.1 million just in the CBA or in the CBD, familiar terms. And I'm not sure if anyone want to guess that these numbers, when comparing to the existing stock that we have, then how many percentage is it comparing? Oh, I will give you the answer. Okay, next slide, please. So these 1.6 million square meter is actually 105% of the existing stock, meaning that now we have 1.55 approximately existing stock. Then you will have double the stock in just only like 4 or 5 years. So you can imagine the market to be very aggressive. The landlord, we have to compete quite a lot to like get the tenants or retain tenants in the building. Same picture for the CBA, 95.3%, which is a lot, right? Okay, next slide, please. Yeah, to give you a little bit more of the perspective, then the chart here, like the bar one, is the like supply. So the gray one is like the new supply in non-CBD area, non-CBA area, and the red one is the CBA area. So you can see these two dashed lines, we call like the demand, which is the net absorption that we gather like in 10 years, and we make it annual. So you can see that the demand side is a lot lower than the supply itself. So this means that the vacancy will rise up. Next slide, please. Okay, next one. Yeah, so you can see that this is quite the optimistic view here, that the vacancy will rise up to like more than 20%. And I think it could be quite more, like a lot more, given that the demand level is not so high at the moment. Comparing to last 10 years, right? You have like 2012 to 2014, which you have just only the demand, but no new supply during that time at all. Then during like 16, 17, 18, you can still see that the supply is shorter than the demand, right? So that's why the vacancy like went up during that time to like 6%, which is very low. And you don't have much of the option in the market at that time, right? But now it will be like going up. Next slide, please. Okay, so yeah, as I mentioned, what the market will react to this, right? We are now in the tenants market, not anymore the landlord market like in the last 10 years. People talking about downsizing, Also like COVID-19 for sure that make it change in terms of how we work. The rent will continue to drop. Like in last year, like this number is like the year-on-year number comparing 2020 and 2021, and the rent drops like 6.22%, while the vacancy rise for like 4.4%. So if you are negotiating with the landlord, then it's time that you talk to the landlord, get the terms that you never got like in the last decades, right? And they have to compete very hard to get the new tenants. But having said that, not going to like Khun Anand and negotiate for the lower rental, because it also depends on the occupancy of the building as well. So if you talk to the building that is like still 90% occupied, then probably they are still like thinking about increasing the rental at renewal a little bit, maybe like not 10 to 20% as before, maybe lower than that. But if you are talking to older building and low vacancy, in this case maybe like lower than 85 or like 70%, then you would expect that the rental increase will be smaller, the same or maybe decrease in some of the building. All right, next one, please. Okay, so after all these things about COVID-19, the question is, do we still need the office at all? And I would refer to the news. I think many of you will hear about like Great Resignation last year. And the question is that the Great Resignation, I'm not sure if you think that it will, is it related to the work from home or being unable to be in the office and work as usual in the office, right? I don't have like the definite answer for you, but the cost of this Great Resignation in 2021, where like 47 million people in US quit their jobs. Same phenomenon like happens in China, in Europe, in India, or globally. The cost, next slide, please. Yeah. The cost for sure, some of the industries that has been affected a lot by the COVID-19, like hospitality, hotels, leisures, people quit jobs because of the uncertainty that they will have to like escape from the industry, do something else. But these 3 points, right? Like missing of communication, the transparency and trust, or not feeling the same sense of belonging, feeling not in like the inclusion of culture that we used to have in the office, or the employees have more time to evaluate their careers. I think for me, it's like also the reason that is quite related to the working in the office as well, as I experience it directly to myself as well. Yeah, so for me, the office is here to stay. Next slide, please. That one? Okay, right. And here's some of the research as well. When we talk to, or we ask people, like 2,000 people about the number of days that they would like to work in the office or work from home, they want to work from home for 5 days or not, right? And we found that on average, 1.5 days that people would like to work from home. Then another half day, maybe around that, that they would like to work from the third place. And they still want 3 days in office. And interestingly, this number that they want to work from home has dropped from 1.9, if you ask them in 2020, dropped to be 1.5 days from home. Because I think we are getting bored being at home, right? Comparing to 2020 that we are very excited. We have a break, not having to come to office, which is quite nice at that time. But now we want to be back to the office, right? Okay, next slide, please. Yeah, so as I mentioned, it's here to stay. So for all the agents here, you still like have work to do. For Khun Anand, you can still like sell things like the co-working space. So having said that, it will stay, but it will not stay at the same thing or at the same fashion as we used to be, right? The office itself inside the office and also the building itself has changed. Next slide, please. Okay, back one. Yeah. So this one is some of the example that we just moved our office from the office that we have been in the last 20 years, quite cozy, but we have a lot of desks, like the fixed desks, meeting rooms, and all that. I mean, not many things in there, but when we change, then we try to make it more people-centric. So we have more collaboration area. We have less workstations, so people can move around. We have like over here, actually, we have like the wellness room, meditation room for people can use, or like taking a little nap between the work. We try to put like arts here to nourish people, phone booths. We have like smaller meeting rooms instead of just very few big rooms where we find like many times just only 2 or 3 people just sitting in a very big room, and we have to compete to get the room every time, right? So office are changing inside and also outside. Next slide, please. Okay, so these are some of the future workplace. Actually, we just not have 6. We have more than that, which is the CBRE trends. But I just select the very obvious one, like the health. That for sure we still need to consider COVID-19. That is still ongoing, right? For our building, our new building, the park, for example, then once you are in the office, I mean, when you are like at the drop-off area and you would like to go up to the space, to the office, you don't have to touch anything. So you use your mobile phone to access the flap gate. Then it assigns you to the lift that you can go up to the space. You can use the mobile phone to access the building, access the office, open the locker. When you want to go to the restroom, just wave your hand. There's a motion sensor instead of like touching things. Sustainability, for sure. Now I think it's not just only nice to have for some of the MNCs, right? It used to be nice to have, but now it's a must for some of them, that when they move the building, then they need to have like a certified building. Yeah. For humanizing workplace, so it has to be more people-centric. So we are not just looking for the space that we work, but we want to have like our life in there. So it has to do more than ever. For the hybrid future, I will not go much into detail because Khun Ruth will cover it, right? For flex transformation as well. But we see increasing number of people that used to be in traditional office. Now they switch to co-working space, for example, for several reasons. And the digital first, which Khun Ek will cover on that part. And here are like some of the buildings that in the future that will be becoming online in the market. And you can see that I think most of the A-grade buildings, if not all, they will have like LEED Gold certificate or WELL Gold certificate, which talks about like the well-being of the people in the building. Okay, I think that's all from JLL with the time limitation. So I will return the stage to Khun Ek. But you have my number here. If tie in a little bit. Yeah. So if you have like anything to ask, I mean, in terms of the office leasing or the office trends, so just like call me. Okay ครับ ขอบคุณมากครับ
Thank you very much, Khun Tony, Head of Tenant Representation, JLL. Thank you very much for sharing that insight. Please, next, can we have Khun Ek for your lovely technological involved property conversation. Thank you very much.
Right. Yes. Thank you. Well, actually, I might come from different backgrounds. Actually, I'm from interior designers, models, aesthetics. But at the end, I have just accidentally going to the FM, facility management field, which actually in 2017, we launched up the globally ISO standard, which is the facility management is integrated about people, place, process to ensure the quality of life of the user, of the people in the buildings, and also the productivity of the core business, which is actually the workplace. It become more related to the workplace. I've been doing this for 21 years on doing workplace strategy, helping clients optimizing and transforming to the way they need to be. In the past, maybe when I just graduate about 20 plus years ago, don't plus the age, sorry. So we use the rule of thumb, maybe like 17, 18, 16 square meter per person. Last year, maybe right now we come down to 9. We use 10 square meters as rule of thumb. We used to have a traditional headcount base where you have 100 people, you have 100 desks. Apply rule of thumbs in. In the UK, different rule of thumb. Hong Kong, different rule of thumb. Today, actually, you can't use that anymore. You can't use the rule of thumb anymore. By having transforming to activity based, you need to understand more logically into how people using it. Facility management or the workplace management actually have to understand how you use the space, how your people using that facilities, and how the corporates spend their monies wisely on that. I supporting actually all the information that Khun Tony said perfectly. We've seen trends in the past 10 years. I using doing this. They used to pay me to optimize the space at least 30%. Only last year, we have many inquiries. We're going down to like some of the companies going down to 30 and 50% cost saving, but they're transforming to hybrid workplace where you all know right now, everybody accepted. I used to spend almost 10 years telling everybody to go transforming to like flexible workplace. You don't have to stay at your office anymore. You don't have a territory. Desk is something stick it to your, productivity now. You can go anywhere you want with the technology transformations. Nowadays, everybody, those refuse me, call me back and said, yeah, I trust you now. I believe you now. Technology become one of the most essentials for you to move around. So right now, what technologies does the company use to invest? In the past, for facility management, we used to spend second biggest asset, spending in terms of the space. But right now, the trends of using space is, decreasing. Trends in workplace technology is increasing. One of the company I did calculations on a strategy. They have 5 floors, 13,000 square meters, want to cut down 60%. I saved them 120 million baht per year. But buying that, they can actually having the flexibilities of having 8 locations around Bangkok, which is might suit you. Right now, for the CAPEX, the capital expense for the organizations, that's something they need to understand. They don't want to spend quite a lot. Of course, the operation expense, the space they have to spend every year on at least like 36 months for one deal. By decreasing that and spending more into more flexible contract, like this kind of place, which is good. In terms of technologies, how can they make the people how can they make the people trust? This is one of the things. I always said workplace is all about people and business. So the technology have to link between these two. One of the technologies that, every office have to get is the mobile app where you can actually book your meeting rooms, book your desk, book a desk, not your desk, book meeting rooms, book desk booking system, or even a area where you can collaborate. Also, it needs to link to the third place where you can move around and see availability. This is some of the things that the technology has come. The applications right now, especially like in Amsterdam, where you go, like what you said, the QR code is become very, very common today. We use laptop. We use more like tablets. We can go anywhere. Wi-Fi it's everywhere. You can hitch around any places. It's free. The cost is lower. You can work at home by having technology support. Most going back 3 years ago, we used to deny Microsoft Team. Everybody's like, come on in. I want to see your face. Right now, almost 800% increasing in a few years for Microsoft Team in 2020. This is something that we forced to accept, I have to say. It means in many companies investing in laptop for their employees is very, very difficult. They use like almost 5 years to get like one laptop. Right now, everybody is going for laptop. HP, Dell's, it's shortage. They cannot supply in 2020, in 2021. So this is one of the things. Actually, going to trend, the workplace trend is that there will be a workplace, but it's not going to be as same as it used to be. The size of the workplace will be smaller by 30 to 50%, definitely. The definitions of workplace have to be defined. It's not going to be just your desk, my desk. It has to be a place where you can have a collaborative climate, where everybody, human being, work together, talk together in person, have the work done faster, have the work, learn how to fail there, touch in a human. That's something that technologies cannot doing it. Technologies can doing some personal task, but not collaborative task. You can see a lot of collaboration space is a must in the office. Before that, everybody said, I want to have something like Google, but you have desk. And then at the end of the day, you don't use the collaboration space. Of course, everybody have desk. Why do you have to be collaboration space, right? This is something that you have to strategize your workplace, right? It's not just about the design for your eyes. It's a space. It's about the cost. It's about the return of investment. It's about the right place at the right time, at the right strategy. It doesn't have to be in the middle of the cities. Right now, it could be dispersed anywhere. It could be 5 locations different near to your home, employees, residents, where they can spend quite some times to walk around, have the communities. They don't have to spend a lot of times going through all the traffic, getting into the CBDs. This is some of the things that happen in the world of workplace. So initially, in terms of no landlord, right? Okay. There will be quite a lot. What I can say, actually, there will be 1.6 square meters going up in the next 5 years. In the existing 1.5, right? Let's say normally was going down to 20, 30%. That's what I do before that. And then now it's getting more and more. So there will be more and more vacancy into the workplace. Technologies have to rely on health, ESG, also the flexibilities of people having together in each other in the office. So it's not going to be Monday, I will meet you. It's going to be something that you choose to work together. We call that a choice-based workplace environment. So it's your choice. It's not, but by having choice, meeting with other people, you need to elaborate. You need to connect via the technologies and book the area in the workplace. So that is a trend that's happening right now. That would save costs more than 30% actually in the workplace, in the rent and operation expense. So sorry, I didn't have any slides, but this is what I normally see the trends for the workplace will be. There's a lot of technologies company locally that can actually help you to get a lower cost. It used to be very, very high. It used to be very expensive. Everybody denied it. But nowadays, these technologies is more local developed, which actually reachable right now and feasible for the ROI situations. I think it's time. Okay. So that's all for me. Sorry, I'm very, very sorry because I have another meeting at Muang Thong, so I have to excuse myself. Hopefully, I will meet you guys again. These are very good two agents, young agents, fine looking. They're very great. If you need other places, you can ask them. If you need anything about the workplace, ask me. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Khun Ek. Executive Director, Workplace Strategies and Project Services. Thank you very much. Very great to hear all that information. Next, we have Khun Sarut from CBRE. Please give him a hand. Thank you very much.
Okay, so thank you. First of all, thank you to Hive for inviting me to this networking event. So today our topic would be about the fixed versus flex workplace. So I think everyone should already know what the differences and the benefit of having the flex and fixed offices. So today I will talk about it. Okay. So the agenda would be, firstly, I will talk about the Agile Workplace. Secondly, will be about a hybrid workplace. Third will be about a flex office in a hybrid world. And then at the end, if you got any questions, then I will have another Q&A sessions upon the end of this presentation, right? Okay, the Agile Workplace. So because I think people know after COVID, the world has been changing like rapidly, right? So everyone wants flexibility. So co-working would consider as one of the most flexible options because the service provider can offer a wide range of flexible options. It can be like co-working, meeting event, to the enterprise solutions where the office will be custom built for each company. But for the more permanent options, it can also be like a turnkey, where the landlords will build up the office for the tenants, or even for a long-term lease or on-occupied building. But for those buildings, meaning that all the permanent options, you won't have any chance to change the footprint during the lease term. That's why the Agile Workplace will be more important role in the near future, all right? Okay, so let's talk about hybrid workplace. I think everyone have been seeing this word. So what's it? Okay. So why we need a hybrid workplace? So basically, why not just work from the office and work from home? Because that would be a barrier of working remotely or to work from home. For example, it can be like from small residential area, lack of proper workstations, and there's a lot of meme that you can see during this day, like from distractions from family members, where, for example, you're having a conference call, then you have your daughter, your son, or even your animal walking in during the conference. So it's not really a proper workplace. And also it's about the additional cost for the staff who work from home, or even the quality of the internet that might drop when you're having a conference with your colleagues or your clients, as well as the business security. But the most important thing is about the team communications and collaboration, where it's lacked from working from home. After the pandemic, okay, so employee would want to work like more flexibility. They would want to work remotely or virtually. But at the same time, the company also wants their employee to be more productive and also to connect it with each other. That's why we think that a hybrid workforce model would be a future. So in the past, we will see that we have like one big headquarter, and then there can be like a small satellite office, project office, or flexible space. But in the future, meaning that you can have like multiple office, which would be the combinations of the flexible options and the permanent option. So the staff can have the options to work from multiple offices. So they can work from their home, project office, meeting on demand, flexible space, or even for multiple headquarter network, similar to what Khun Ek just mentioned. So what's the flexible office would be in a hybrid world? So from our survey in 2020, so we want to ask the occupier about what they're expecting in a new office building. So most of the occupiers saying that the flexible office option should be there in the new office development or even for shared meeting space. You can see that the size of the co-working operators or service office who occupy in the building now become a larger amount. For example, in the past, there might be about 2,000 to 3,000 square meter. But nowadays, we've seen that they have been signed, for example, at Midtown, just co-sign a lease with Midtown for about 10,000 square meters. Because of the needs of the occupant is now changed because they want more flexibilities as part of their real estate portfolio. And last year, we also did another occupier survey. So now we're focusing about the flexible office in their portfolio. So you can see that there's lots of occupiers say that that would significantly increase their flexible options in their portfolio for more than 50%. Because of a hybrid world and also because of we want those flexibilities at least term. So that's why we think that the flexible office will be one of the solutions for a hybrid workplace. So what is the next normal? So also again, as Khun Ek mentioned, so this just to show the pictures of how the layout should be. For example, for activity-based work, so most of the lease area will be focusing on knee space. So the office would be designed to have like for both individual works and also for collaborations. And then we got teamwork, team-based work in the middle. So that will be less me space, but increase in V space. So it will encourage the space to be more productive, more collaborations. And if you go really extreme, then it will be event-based work, the one in the bottom. So this one, you can see that the me space would be reduced to about just 15%. So individual work can be done at home. And then if you want to get like collaborations, meeting, the office would be more like for schedule meetings or event space. So it will be encouraged to get like more collaborations. As Khun Tony mentioned as well. So the office is not die. They just change the way we use the office from the traditional way to the more event-based or team-based. Those will be depending on the requirements of each of the business type. So we're not saying that, okay, everyone will go with event-based work. We can't just apply that to all business type. So it's just depending on the nature of each business. So in summary, CBRE just expecting that the office will become more like consumer oriented because as you know that the building would need to be like with a high infrastructure so that everyone can design their own office that will be matched with your with the each company requirements. All right. Okay. That's all. If you have any questions, then I will be around here. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Khun Sarut, Senior Director, CBRE. All right. Very insightful, I have to say. I have to thank all of you, even Khun Ek, who is already gone, but very insightful, every one of you. I think it's something that's very excited for the market. I will have a little part of saying in this a little bit, because I would like to share with you guys the benefit of a creative agreement. If it's not a big broker, sometimes I do have difficulties conveying the ideas of why, for example, a management contract with a landlord would be beneficial. So basically 30 minutes of my meeting is always invested in explaining a management contract, which I would like to do very briefly here, so for people to understand a little bit more clearer. So what is a management agreement? It's nothing, not rocket science, but it's basically you have a property owner and a management company, in this case, a co-working operator, and together they do a co-working operation. That will give a couple of benefits, which I come to back later in a moment as well. Number one is definitely a potential of increasing the revenue, because they will get their revenue, or they will get the entire earnings and pay us or any management agreement provider a management fee. So they will have more opportunities, but of course more risks. In our case, for example, we would like to be asset light and try to be no capex involved. Of course, that gives a bigger burden for the landlord itself. However, we always try to make them understand that our margins are also proportionally high. Now, how does this work? What's the case study? Why would this work in an office environment? If we look at the hotel industry, it has working there for the whole time. Look at the brand Hilton. You know, by now, they barely own any hotels. Most of them are really management agreements. They used to own a lot of those, but they slowly phased it out and did the management agreements with the property owners. So that worked, but it was a tedious process. It took them about 20 years to get there, the industry itself. But can I have the next slide, please? Just to confirm what I mentioned before, this is just an example of how we do our financial modeling and how we do show and communicate to our landlords why a management agreement is something interesting. Now, this is based off a base rent of 650 Thai baht or 19.5 USD on 1,004 square meters. So we can basically, in a yellow line, see, orange line, that's the traditional lease, what they would get from us. Now, we take everything in calculations from operating expenses, like our staff, our utilities, taxes, and so on and so forth, and filter that in with our membership revenue and other revenue. So we create the graph and see how we go. Of course, first year, we always expect to be a loss year, but then we rent up 40, and we can achieve up to 40% margin increase on what you would usually get. Now, this is all plain and good. I will show you at the end of the presentation why you can trust us. We do have a graph for you to see how many of our locations achieve 100% or 80% occupancy in what many months. So there is something to it. Now you see that, for example, the base rent of 650, we will actually, by year 2, have already almost 820 baht. So that's a very great increase. So I think on a revenue potential side, management agreements are very strong. Now, can we go to the next slide, please? What is basically our enhancement, or what does it make it for you interesting to make the management agreement? Of course, number one, which is point 3 here, is the increased financial performance. Yes, but it also engages and activates your building. With a partner like us, you don't have to focus on operating it, or the landlord doesn't have to focus on operating it. A co-working provider can operate it for them with their own experience. So instead of you trying to make a co-working space happening, you can use someone who is great at operating it. We do have additional amenities. You have a building, you can use some meeting rooms. You can even make additional revenue on top of it. You can use a phone booth or event space and so on and so forth. So we bring additional things, added value to your building. Now, and of course, that results in improved tenant retention, because they're happy, they have everything they need. Why would they move? Can we go to the next slide? Thank you. So this is basically, in a nutshell, the comparison straight up, management agreement benefits to traditional agreement benefits. Of course, the traditional ones are very heavy. For example, it's a little risk. I'm not saying that don't pay capex anymore, because nowadays, even with fixed leases or traditional leases, they start to contribute capex as well. However, it's little risk. Like, for example, someone who wants no capex at all, no capex contribution at all, compared to someone with a little bit skin and teeth is a different kind of a layer to it. So that's, I think, the most reluctancy that we have come across so far with landlords, because they are trying to be risk averse as well. Number two, of course, for the traditional agreements is the consistent money lease payment. You know exactly what to expect every month. No matter how good our business goes, no matter what COVID is doing to us, you always can expect a steady money income. Correct. Number three, it's basically part of number two. However, I would like to mention it separately. It's a steady return over the course of the lease term. So you know exactly from year one to year three what you will get, and you can plan your spendings and everything in ahead, which is a little bit more different with a management agreement, right? However, I do believe that the increased revenue potential is a very big factor that I think I would like to emphasize. As you showed the graph before, up to 40% uplift is 100% possible. We are an expert operator, not only we, I'm talking for the whole industry here. So you know someone who can make your space happening. And nowadays, there's a lot of idle space around, as we have seen. There is vacancy that people are sitting on. Why not utilizing the idle space and get someone in who can operate the business for you for a couple of years, 3 years, 6 years, and at least get some revenue instead of sitting on an empty space. So it fills your capacity, it fills your building occupancy as well. And added value to the building, as I told you, we have amenities as operators, we have meeting rooms and so forth that can benefit the entire building. Last but not least, there's also the possibility of inclusion. So for example, we have in Hong Kong a very active landlord who likes to give suggestions, like how you can optimize it. Or for example, as a landlord, you can take the initiative and saying, okay, I will do some marketing for you guys. Because in the end of the day, if it's a management agreement, our revenue is their revenue. So helping each other, having two people helping on one agenda, it's a very good, I think, thing to have. Please go to the next slide. Now, of course, we have, as not only as the Hive, but as co-working operators itself, we do have experience in sales and operations itself. So this is what I mentioned earlier. We can, with a record, with a proven track record of our performance, in 1 year of operation, basically by month 8, we are 80% occupancy. If you look at that, this is our 5 newest locations that we have. And this is the occupancy chart, how it goes. That makes us confident that our monthly our projections for the uplift in terms of management agreement compared to a traditional lease is something solid and your people can trust. Next one, please. Finishing off is, again, to reiterate what it is. Not only do you have the two things, the financial gain, the amenities, and so on and so forth. No, if you get a favorite or most liked or popular brand into the building, it also draws more traffic to your building. If you have a really exceptional operator, people might just get drawn to the building itself because of that operator. Also, networking. It's not in that sense, but however, if we, for example, close a client, it grows too fast, and as a landlord, who's the next natural source we're gonna project the lead to? Is of course to the landlord. For example, we have a limited capacity of 16 packs, for example, a max office size. Now they grow to 50. Of course, we refer to the landlord since we are partners in the business, right? So they can draw on our network. Not only that, but also our marketing and so forth. The track record I mentioned before. The identity itself, not only APEC itself, talking about all operators now, everybody has their footprints. And no matter what region you want to focus on, you can basically pick your player. And lastly, of course, the full-scale marketing. I think we are a little bit unique in that because we do have certain platforms. I don't want to bore you with that. In a nutshell, it's just my introduction to you for management agreements and why this would just work. I would like to give an honorable mention to JLL. I was reading on their webpage. Actually, they were forecasting that by the year 2030, we expect a 30% occupation in the office area to be flexible. So the trend is going up. We are right now, I think, at 5 to 6% currently, but it's going straight up. So the flexible market is going bigger. The flexible market wants to be asset light. The flexible market wants to have less capex involvements. So I think that's a natural direction where we're going to go. And I think if we can all educate the landlords, that's a mutual benefit. It's a win-win-win scenario. It's something we all can benefit from. Thank you very much. That's it for me from the Hive. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And enjoy the networking. Thank you very much.